Wanna know how I got these scars? I'm the Joker. I love being funny, but sometimes I have to look you dead in the eye to tell you the cold truth. Sometimes the truth is a hard pill to swallow, like telling you Santa Claus isn't real, or saying that I want to lower my Half-Life Alyx review score from a 4 to a 3.5 out of 5. Yeah, that one still hurts. Today, I want to tell you about a show society wants you to believe is this masterful thing that you should praise. Something by the name of...
Whoa. Hold on. Did you just do the cut to title cliche, where I say words leading up to the name and then it just cuts to the title? What do you think we're making here, Invincible? Or anything else that uses the cliche, since it's something that's existed for a very long time, but for some reason people only recognize it as the thing from Invincible. Fucking hell, anyway, let's talk about... fuck it. There's not a show that I see a bigger waste of potential in than Love, Death, and Robots. How cool is the idea of an anthology series of adult animated shorts? Not only that, but the directors and writers are almost given complete creative freedom to make whatever they want, and each episode has its own unique animation style. That sounds great. Then you watch all 18 shorts from Volume 1 and are just floored by how many of these episodes just suck. One thing I wasn't aware of was how many people fucking love this show. This show is sitting at a whopping 8.5 out of 10 for its overall rating on IMDb. What? What the fuck? There's a total of 6 shorts from Volume 1 that I actually enjoyed, but out of 18, that's really not very good. I will never understand why so many of these episodes are as highly rated as they are, but hey, good on you if you can enjoy something I can't, but you're a fucking idiot as well. But get ready for me to try and tear this show limb by limb, because it's really bad. We'll start with the first episode and go down the list with how Netflix sets them up. 3 Robots is actually okay. I don't love it or hate it, but it's definitely an okay starting point for the series. It's a very middle-of-the-road short where nothing of substance really happens, but it's also kind of cute. It's a very simple short. It's a group of robots exploring the Fallen City Minecraft Hunger Games map. Some of the humor didn't land, and some did. I found the smaller robot to be quite annoying at points.
Yeah, especially when your ancestors' entire existence was defined by 13-year-old human males using it to teabag opponents in virtual battles.
A lot of what these characters say makes me I don't like that word. Hold on. Physically recoil. Like a lot of these episodes, this has a lot of edgy moments that just feel like a desperate attempt for the show to seem cooler than it actually is. Now, I'm fine with edginess in media, but usually it has a point other than, "Ha! Robot is making sex jokes, how funny!" This one is very middle of the road, but it's pretty harmless compared to some of the others. I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 10. Beyond the Aquila Rift is the highest rated episode according to IMDb, and I can't fathom why, because it's fucking terrible. It's astonishing that this is a loved episode from this series. Now, if you'd open to page 1... So basically the Mass Effect crew is taking a little space nap so they can travel to a different galaxy, but oh no, something goes wrong. Shepard wakes up and goes, "Oh no, something bad happened." Turns out Miranda was waiting for him in the garage, and she's like, "Oh hey, remember that time I saved you from that nest of Gundarks?" Shepard's like, "No, you fell in that, and I rescued you." And Miranda's like, "Oh, yeah." And then they start having sex for like approximately 3/4 of this short. Afterwards, Shepard says to Miranda, "Wait a second, something's wrong here." She's like, "What? No." Oh, okay. Sex, 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 sex. That's it, boys. Grab the popcorn. You know what's up. Yeah. Artistic value says what? Get it? That was funny. And 2 minutes later, he yet again says, wait, something is wrong here still.
No, there isn't.
Yeah, there is.
You're gonna have a bad time, I'm a spider!
And with Shepard realizing that Miranda had tricked him and was actually a spider all along, it really put into perspective for him of what he had been going through. It was very philosophical. It was a great story. But in the end, all great things come to a close. Just like this book. And everyone lived happily ever after. So yeah, that's basically Beyond the Aquila Rift. 2 out of 10. Fuck you.
Ice Age sucks. No, not those. This one. Get it? 'Cause these are called Ice Age movies?
Fucking
There really isn't much to talk about with Ice Age. There's a small civilization living in the icebox, and these human characters are just creepily watching them. Without exaggeration, that is the entire thing. I think visually, the civilization is cool. There's one joke when it takes the perspective of the people inside of the icebox that I found somewhat humorous. All of the other attempted moments of humor just fell flat. The human characters observing this civilization are extremely underdeveloped, and both of the actors' line deliveries are terrible. 3 out of 10. Still better than Beyond the Aquila Rift, missing a lot of that dumb little shit squirrel! I really liked this short up until the fighting started. The concept is a cage fight to the death with monsters. I love the color choices for the majority of this short, but I felt the animation really dipped whenever these giant monsters started to fight. I just don't think they had it in their budget to make these sequences mesh with the style that they were going for. I'm also not entirely sure why Sonnie's edge on her opponents was somehow a built-up component of this story, when it's revealed that her edge over her enemies is just that she's afraid of death. That's just really, really stupid. Hey, dumbass, almost everyone is afraid of death. You're not special. Since these monsters are being controlled by people who don't give a shit about their monsters, what if she ends up coming across another person like her? What if she's put up against a monster that isn't controlled by anyone? What if that monster is afraid of dying too? What happens to your edge now, Sonnie? Of course, they're not as edgy as the entirety of this show. Whatever, it's stupid. 5 out of 10. Moving on. When the Yogurt Took Over is okay. This is another one of those shorts that's just based around a surface level concept. What if yogurt was sentient and took over Earth is the entire thing. It has deeper themes around this concept, which is something I can't say for most of the other ones, but this short is still fairly bland. I think the animation is pretty great. I love how they went about the yogurt speaking in air bubbles.
The way he leaps off of rooftops and flips backwards to face the camera before falling into a headfirst dive is just full of the exaggerated swagger of a black teen. It gives me goosebumps every time he does it.
At one point, things just start to look like they're made out of chrome, and I started yelling,
future.
I don't really have any more words to describe it other than cute. It's one of my favorites from Volume 1, but that's not saying much. 6 out of 10. The Secret War is trying to be cool. I really like the premise of World War II Russian soldiers fighting against weird monsters. That sounds awesome. I want to watch that short. Unfortunately, I found the majority of this short underdeveloped, making a lot of these scenes feel really rushed and shoehorned. Compared to most of these shorts from this series, I could actually see this idea being expanded upon into something genuinely cool. The main thing this short is lacking is character development, as well as a good story as to why these things are happening. So actually, yeah, it's kind of a lot. There's attempts at character moments, but nothing is given room to settle down, or grab a blanket, or hide under it with your comrades, hold hands. watch furry porn. You know, the usual. Like most of these shorts, the visuals are the best part. I just wish it was purposeful. The characters are terrible, and the last 5 minutes or so is just a clusterfuck of forced emotion. It is where I lose all goodwill for this short. 4 out of 10. It could be good, but it's still better than Beyond the Aquila Rift. Okay, moving. Sucker of Souls is really edgy. These soldiers and scientists go into a cave and discover Dracula. Dracula is shown killing everything and everyone in its path, but then suddenly it stops when a cat comes into play. Ha! Get it? Dracula is afraid of cats, so he's a pussy bitch.
Let's make 1,000 jokes about it, because we're so goddamn clever. Look at that dumbass pussy. You know, the other day I went to my girlfriend and I was like, hey, I'd like a little pussy. And she's like, me too. Mine's as big as a house. Laugh, I can't hear you. What's that? Wait, what do you have for me? $1 million check directed towards me? You're too kind. So, when's the actual check gonna come in from Shane?
I don't know, I'm just an intern.
Well, tell him to hurry his ass up, because I got a fucking shit ton to film. So, I mean, he's being a real sucker of souls.
Shit. What was I talking about again? The only praise I can give this one is that the animation is alright. It's nothing special for 2D standards, but it's not visually disgusting either, and that's what we're going off of, people. The characters are all terrible, and they do a really bad job at establishing the main threat. Suddenly a cat conveniently appears right before they're about to die, which was just really lazy. Everyone has the worst dialogue, and it makes me physically recoil. Yeah, this one just sucks. 3 out of 10. Alright, let's talk about The Witness now. I'm convinced that The Witness was edited and animated by someone with severe ADHD. I'm apparently in the minority when I say that this is the worst episode of the entire show. The first time I watched this, a little over a year ago, I had a genuine headache that was caused by this short. Now, I'm not just making a joke where I'm saying, oh, what a headache that was. No, this short gave me an actual headache. Which, if you know me and the things I watch, that should sound surprising. So you might be asking, oh, why do you hate it so much? What makes it so bad? So this short starts by having our main character, who I'll call Crackhead, witnessing
Hey, that's the name of the show.
a murder across from her apartment. Even before this happens, you'll notice a problem right away. The footage of Crackhead putting on lipstick is interlaced with footage of the murder, and it's done in this overly stylized way for some reason. When people use the term style over substance, this is definitely a step below that, where the style is awful and there is no substance. The entire scene is fake shaky cam with comic book sound effects. And it does this thing where it goes in and out of focus every few seconds, and it does this so much to where it's really hard to keep track of what's happening during certain scenes. It also has this fake film grain over it, because whoever made it is a pretentious prick. So then the murderer sees Crackhead running out of her apartment, and you'll notice that the camera intensely shakes whenever anything happens. This is a simple scene of a character running down steps. Why does it look like this? This is awful! Since this shot was a flat angle, my interpretation of their thought process is that they wanted it to look exciting, but this is the exact opposite. I think they were going for a high anxiety Safdie Brothers thing. In their movie Good Time, the camera is really up close and there's lots of intentional edits that add anxiety to the already anxiety-inducing, engaging story, which this short is actually quite the opposite of. In Good Time, Robert Pattinson is on the run and trying to rescue his brother because he feels responsible for what happened to him. He's working under intense pressure and trying to figure out how to rescue his brother from police custody, and the style of the movie reflects this anxiety Robert Pattinson's character is feeling. In The Witness, you have no connection to these characters, so much that I had to resort to just calling one of them Crackhead so I'd remember who I'm talking about. The story is that Crackhead is a witness to a murder and she's running from the person who committed it. That's the entire thing. The movie never gives me a reason as to why I should care about anything. Now keep in mind, all of this I've complained about so far is within the first minute of the short, if you take away the show's intro. So Crackhead leaves the building and runs into a taxi cab to call the police. The camera is placed in a Dutch angle that's meant to look like it's from the seat of the cab. This is when you notice another problem, the voice acting.
Your emergency.
Hello? I think I saw a murder.
Location, please.
I think the killer's after me.
Right. Location, please.
Emily O'Brien is someone I'm not familiar with, and she is really bad in this short. This might be due to the direction, because this was a first-time director, but who knows. Either way, she isn't good. So her call to the police doesn't work, so she just calls this Russian guy named Vladimir.
Yeah, it's Vladimir. Leave message.
Hey, this is me, Vladimir, please leave message. Turns out Vladimir is the owner of this exotic strip club that Crackhead works at. He's also voiced by Nolan North, weirdly enough. Anyway, Crackhead is like, oh, okay, I'm coming to work now. Why are you going to work? Oh, it's because we need a reason to force nudity into this short. Oh, thanks, Love, Death, and Robots. You're too kind. So Crackhead arrives at the strip club, and right away you'll notice the camera bounces every time she takes a step. Yet again, I think this is done to make her simple actions look exciting, because the director doesn't know what he's fucking doing. So she walks up to this door and this person comes out, who I'm gonna call Horn Person, so I can remember who I'm actually speaking about.
About time you got here! What the fuck, bitch?
Sorry. Yeah.
You are fucking late!
I don't know if it's the overacting that made me bust out laughing during this part, but it's followed up by this weird exchange.
I just saw a murder.
Ew, gross.
Okay.
I mean, you always have the most bizarre excuses. Just come in.
So you're telling me that she just shows up to work late, a lot, complaining about how she just saw a murder? Is this a common occurrence in her life? Yeah, Crackhead with her weird excuses. Always complain about how she just seen some shit. What a knucklehead. So the murderer is like, surprise! And starts running towards the strip club door.
Oh, you're not. It's okay. Don't worry. You want to see some pussy?
No. No, I don't. Now, I can't show you a lot of this part because of the extreme nudity, so I'm gonna fill some of the clips with stick figure recreations. It'll be seamless, don't worry. So Murderer and Horn Person walk up into the club like, what up? I got mom's spaghetti. I just defied expectations with that reference. Multi-combo ultra mega subversion. I'm just like Rian Johnson. Give me access to Star Wars. I think this short is melting my brain. I'm sorry. Horn Person is like, hey murderer, go mingle with these strippers that have their bodies fully in latex for some reason. Horn Person goes on stage and is like, now I'm gonna introduce you to Crackhead, bitches! I guess Horn Person's catchphrase is just calling people bitches because they end every sentence like this. Horn Person's dialogue is so over the top and edgy to where I can't tell if it's meant to be a joke or not. Anyway, there's an approximately 1 minute long exotic dancing scene where Crackhead strips and rubs herself on a couch. Wanna know what this adds to the short? Absolutely nothing. You can take out this entire strip scene and the story would not change in the slightest. This is just here because this show has the ability to show porn. This is just porn. There is nothing of substance here, other than the people that watched it who got their gamer gunk all over their televisions. Not only that, but the entire thing is shaky cam, just like when she was doing other actions. Then suddenly, Crackhead notices the murderer in the strip club and gets freaked out. She stops her show and grabs a thin jacket from her changing room. Crackhead is basically fully exposed through the rest of the short. You could interpret this as some sort of symbolism for her vulnerability when she's running away from this murderer, but I just know that the director made her topless because he found it hot. There is no symbolic purpose for it. You can't trick me, you fucking hack. Disclaimer, 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 disclaimer. So she runs away from the murderer in this really flashy and awkwardly edited chase sequence. Some shots look alright, while others look like this.
Hold on! Wait a second! Yeah.
So eventually, Crackhead returns to this complex and hides in an apartment. The murderer, I guess, just knows immediately which one she's in. The murderer unlocks the door and Crackhead pulls a gun on him. They move into a different room where they start fighting, blah blah blah. Oh, Crackhead murders the murderer and she looks out the window and it's the same guy looking back at her from the other building. Obviously, this is a mimic of the first scene from the short where she witnesses him murdering someone that looks exactly like her. This makes Crackhead realize, oh my gosh, she was literally me. Now see, I get that it's meant to be symbolic for the cycle of violence, and there's tons of graffiti saying, we want peace, or something along that line. It's obvious it's going for some sort of anti-violence message, but it feels really shoehorned at the end. Violence leads to more violence, but what does the strip club scene have to do with that thematic element? What does that awful editing and constant shaky cam have to do with that thematic element? It doesn't know what it wanted to be, so instead it's just annoying and edgy. Okay, I'm done. This short won 3 Emmys for some reasons, so that's no fucking surprise, I guess. Whatever, I don't care anymore. I spent way too long on this short. You probably already guessed the score, but it's a 10 out of 10. It has a little something for everyone. Suits is fun. I don't know if I had more fun with this one just because it was following up something I passionately disliked, but either way, it's still enjoyable. It's dumb, but it's competent enough to where you can still have fun with it. It's nothing spectacular or groundbreaking, it's just a bunch of giant mechs killing things, which is all it needed to be in the first place. Monsters are invading this farmland, and they have to defend it with a bunch of these mechs. That's it. The animation is solid, I like the creature designs as well. I think the main issue is definitely with the characters. There's a ton of characters in this, and pretty much all of them are underdeveloped. I guess I was meant to feel tense when one of them was in trouble, but I didn't, so... Oh, look at this character I feel nothing about. I wonder what's gonna happen to them. I care so much about the events that's happening to these characters that I love. I don't know how to describe the ending besides saying it's like Mandy, where there's just a random reveal that it was taking place on a different planet the whole time. It has absolutely no impact on the rest of the story. It's just sort of there, which is fine, I guess. Just an odd choice is what I'm getting at. Anyway, Suits gets a 4 out of 10, but it also gets this cute sticker of Nicolas Cage. Look at him. He's fucking adorable. Fucking get one of your own. Look at the sticker. That's it. Okay, no, okay, moving on. Bye-bye. Good Hunting is the first of 2 episodes directed towards furries. This one is by far the better one, but it's still not very good. This is a universe where anthropomorphic foxes exist and are shunned by humans because they're just too fucking attractive. This is literally what happens. I am not joking. I guess we know where the director's head is at with that one. Turns out the Fox Force 5 is dying because the world is turning hella steampunk, which is making the fox lose their transformation powers. I think the animation is fairly bland. There's not much that's visually interesting about the animation style. I think it does a good job at capturing the grittiness of the steampunk age as compared to the earlier parts of the short in the more traditional Asian setting. Besides that, I can't think of anything that struck me as visually interesting. The character designs don't pop, and the story isn't engaging either. It has deeper themes than a lot of these other shorts, but it doesn't explore them in any way that's interesting. It's just saying, get it? This is parallel with the real environment, and then doesn't expand upon itself. I watched this yesterday at the time of writing this, and I already forgot most of the short. This episode is extremely forgettable, but it's also not the worst thing ever. And neither is that hot furry ass. 3 out of 10. The Dump is an underrated episode. As much as I wanted to make a joke about how this is a dumpster fire, I can't, because I weirdly like this one. It's simplistic to the point where there's almost no reason for it to exist. That's a compliment. The concept is, what if the garbage in a junkyard turned into a monster? And that's the entire thing. It's basically an origin story for Amber Heard. I really like the visual style in this. It adds a unique element that really brings some life into the short. The dialogue is mixed in terms of quality, but there's a few jokes that I laughed at, so at least there's something. This one's really harmless, but I understand why people wouldn't like this one. With that being said, this gets a 5 out of 10. Now let's talk about a real dumpster fire this time. Yeah, I'm talking about Shapeshifters, one of the worst episodes in this series. This is the second furry episode I was mentioning. Now, I don't hate it as much as The Witness, but it's only slightly above that. I don't have nearly as much to say about Shapeshifters as I did with The Witness. I have a problem with The Witness specifically because of its shitty style. But I have a problem with Shapeshifters because of its lack of a style. Basically, this takes place in a universe where anthropomorphic, shape-shifting wolf creatures coexist with humans. There's these two wolves who are in human form. It's really hammered in that they're part of a pact. Two brothers, too much love. These brothers, they love each other's brothers. Why the fuck is this in the script? What was I trying to say? So you get introduced to the main character, whose character trait is standing completely still when he senses danger. What a great way to introduce us to these characters. It's made very clear that these two wolf creatures have a deep bond. Want to know how I know that? Because they tell me. So this short tries to cover racism or sexism or fucking something. These wolf people are getting rude comments by the people around them. All of the comments are lines like, "Oh, how did you get on the team?" Or, "I can't believe they let people like you serve." Just, really subtle dialogue all around. Speaking of subtlety, let me talk about the fat funny guy. He isn't funny, that's just a formality. But he is really fat. He's basically me. He's the other wolf creature that isn't the main character. His traits include imaginary sex.
I don't even have a sister. Why do you get so mad when I dream about fucking her?
And saying, "Hey, that's not cool." Both actually coincide with each other, but as a gamer, I already knew that sex was imaginary. Wow, Nick. How do you come up with such great jokes? Alright, now let's talk about something. So he's the funny guy that's really close to the main character, and they're buddy-buddy in a hostile war zone. They're just so close to each other that they're practically brothers. I would hate to see something. Alright everyone, let's take bets now. Is this character gonna die? Who wants to risk it? And he is already dead. Now see, they're playing this music because it's a third world country. Thanks, Gabrielle Penachoni Chelani. Thanks, Gabrielle Gabrielle Penachil. Gabrielle Penachil. Gabriel Penachiloni. Thanks, Gabriele Penachiloni. So he hunts the evil wolves that killed his friend, but the army boss man said to keep the other wolf alive. Vor. This entire fight is awful. I can't tell what's happening for the majority of it. Whenever the director thinks something is cool, it's just overusing slow motion. Oh wow, he hit him so hard that his eyeball came out in one piece. Slow motion. Oh, he's jerking off to furry porn. Slow motion. Everyone is back at the military base, and Army Boss Man is like, "You're a dumb animal, you dumb animal, stupid." And Wolf Guy is like, "Yeah, I might be a dumbass animal, but I'm not your dumbass animal." He picks up the body bag of Fat Wolfman and he buries him, his friend, whatever. Credits. Okay, we're done. 1 out of 10. But since I'm a furry, it's 9 out of 10. One score off because they pussied out on the 4, because the furries weren't as hot as the other one. What? Who said that? Oh, what? Oh, next one? Fish Night has as much depth as a Telltale game. Speaking of Telltale, the art style is equivalent to Telltale upgrading their fucking engine. Hey Telltale, if The Wolf Among Us 2 ever releases, can you make the art style look nice and make it not look like this shit? Thanks. Oh wait, I'm not talking about Telltale. I'm talking about this forgettable short film called Fish Night. On one hand, the animation is really great, especially the nighttime section, but then you also have to keep in mind that nothing makes sense. You might have noticed that I haven't explained the plot. That's because I really don't know what it is, other than their car broke down in the middle of a desert road. That's all I know. I'm sorry.
Alright, hold on a second. I didn't realize how fucking on the nose this episode was until right now. This is like so fucking clear, like what's gonna happen.
It's like this gets me wondering. If the ghosts of people can haunt a house, well, why can't the ghosts of creatures haunt where they once lived?
This short doesn't have an ending. They couldn't even be bothered. It just cuts to black. This one sucks. 3 out of 10. Now let me talk about the philosophical ideas that this gives. Garfield, Helping Hand is really boring, which is its main... detriment. It's basically a ripoff of... Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna go sleep for a bit. I'll be back.
It's basically a ripoff of Gravity, which is already not great. Oh, this woman is struggling for her life to make sure she doesn't drift off into space. The entire short is her trying to get back to her ship. Visually, I like the sequence where Space Lady's hand freezes and she rips it off, and it's also visually boring, and for the life of me, I can't remember this short. What happened in this short?
What are you doing? How the fuck did you get into my house? I was just in the other room for like a minute at most. Who the hell are you?
I guess you could say I'm a helping hand.
Oh. I see.
One out of 10. Alternate Histories is fun. This is another low-rated episode that I found pretty alright. Before rewatching this recently, I had it rated as an 8 out of 10. My score is definitely lower than it was, but I do think it's the second best short from this volume. It's weird how I like this one, because it has all of the elements that I complained about before from some of the other shorts. Baseline concept, unfunny, edgy humor for the sake of trying to be cool, out-of-place nudity, and a few other things. For some reason, it all just sort of works in this, and I can't really lay a finger on as to why it specifically works in this short only. The concept is fun by showing goofy ways that Hitler could have died, and it's clearly just messing around. It's not trying to say anything, it's just haha and move on. The animation is nice to look at as well. Not all the jokes land, but some do. It's a fine short overall. 6 out of 10. Nor is the Abraham Lincoln one. Lucky 13 is a short I completely forgot about before rewatching it. For all these shorts from Volume 1, I was able to sort of refresh my memory based on what I had seen before, but I don't remember this one at all. I'm not even sure if I saw it. Netflix has this marked as watch, so at one point I must have seen it. I just remember absolutely nothing about it. So either someone hacked into my account to specifically watch the Lucky 13 episode of Love, Death, and Robots, or I've seen it before. And it's kind of weird that I forgot this one, because it's actually alright. It's about this space fighter pilot who wants to fuck their ship, because it's never lost a battle. That is a sexy ship. It's a fucking... The plot is strangely similar to Titanfall 2's campaign, except Titanfall 2 is actually memorable. All of the development and backstory behind this ship is just told through a long exposition dump and time-lapse sequence. You aren't given much of a reason as to why she has a connection with this ship, beyond this ship gets people out alive. Wow, what character! I can actually see potential in this short, but it really doesn't do much for me. I'll probably forget it again. 4 out of 10. Blind Spot is fucking terrible. For an episode that's placed right near the end of this volume, it's really mediocre and forgettable. There is nothing interesting about this short. The animation uses really dark shades of brown and at points looks really unnatural and just genuinely disgusting to look at. The main thing most of these shorts have going for them is that the animation looks nice. This is not one of those cases. The entire short takes place during a chase sequence where one character dies after another. The main problem with this is that the short treats these deaths as if I'm meant to care, even though I have no clue who any of these characters are. This one guy sounds like Claptrap from the Borderlands games, and he's narrating this entire thing.
Affirmative. It appears the cargo is in the front car.
Even Steve could have won with those cards. And all he can say is hey-o. Shut the f*** up, Steve. People say I'm annoying.
I mean, there's really nothing good here. But I also don't hate it. I still have enough dislike for it to where I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 10, because I really can't think of anything I like about this. Anyway, let's talk about the best episode of Volume 1 now. Zima Blue is the final episode of Volume 1 and is my personal favorite from this chunk of shorts. Visually, it's great, and I love the 2D animation and the way it's stylized. It fits so well with the story it's telling. The actual story, by the way, it's nothing spectacular, but you understand the deeper meaning behind it, even if it's not that deep. It's about this cyborg artist that wants to share his story of how he got to that point. It's not entirely surface level and brings something that a lot of these episodes miss, such as a purpose for existing. My main problem is with the series of events leading to the midway point. They introduce this interviewer character that's meant to be the audience's introduction to the Zima character. The interviewer character is never developed. She only exists to get Zima to start telling his story. She is not a character. She is a tool used to advance the story, which in this case works, but it's still lacking in that department. The twist that Zima was this pool cleaner robot all along didn't change anything for me. It's treated as if it's this big reveal that was meant to blow my mind, but I'm just sitting there asking what the purpose of it was. How does this change anything? Alright, I guess. Sure, fuck it. It's a fucking pool cleaner, whatever. That twist just didn't feel necessary, and you could have probably gotten that information across in a more climactic manner that was actually built up. Instead, the concept just appears and then you forget about it. Oh wow, look at that. It's a short I actually like. 7 out of 10. However, it's obviously not as good as The Witness. Now let me talk about how much I love The Witness and how it won 3 fucking Emmys. Those mother... Oh, Volume 1 gave me fucking allergies. Jesus Christ. Or it's just that I'm filming this on a different day where my allergies are more affecting me. Now let me reiterate and expand upon what doesn't work about this show. On a conceptual level, I have a feeling a lot of these shorts came from small ideas. A handful of these ideas are decent and make for some alright episodes, but the large majority are just surface level concepts. Like I've mentioned before, each episode has a certain shallow formula that the majority of them follow. Baseline concept, unfunny edgy humor for the sake of edginess, and out-of-place nudity, which is why 90% of these episodes are terrible. What if there was a battle arena for monsters to fight to the death, is a concept used for the episode Sonnie's Edge. Sure, that sounds interesting on paper, and the episode itself is okay. Unfortunately, a lot of these shorts just take the surface level concept and never expand upon it. That episode includes the baseline concept of fighting in the arena with these monsters. It includes edginess. It isn't humorous edginess, but it's still present and it's really obnoxious. It also has some nudity here and there. It's a prime example of taking a concept and executing it poorly because of the show's this is fucking ironic. And executing it poorly because of the show's strict structure. Now, I admit, before watching Volume 2, I wasn't interested in seeing where the series could go in the future. Hell, I didn't even want to watch Volume 2. Now, a question you might have is, why did you see this if you weren't interested? To that I answer, me. Shut up, I bet you're the type of person that wants Sora from Kingdom Hearts and Smash, you fucking asshole. Bring Porky or Rayman. As mentioned earlier, Volume 2 breaks the mold that Volume 1 seemed afraid to let go of. Volume 1 was marketed as an edgy cartoon anthology for adults only. Volume 2 changes this, which as a result, the quality control is much better. There's a lot less swearing. It's still edgy enough during some episodes where it's still love, death, and robots, but this angle seems to be toned down significantly for this new volume. There's hardly any nudity, but the concepts are still fairly bland. It's not that big of a change from the formula, but it's still a significant enough increase in quality to where I can be hopeful for the future of the series. There aren't any episodes I truly hated like in Volume 1. I think Volume 2 has the best episode of the entire show, and it also never gets to the same low point in quality as Volume 1 did with episodes like The Witness or Shapeshifters. That being said, with a total of 8 episodes instead of the previous 18, this was much easier to get through. Like I did with Volume 1, I'm going to be going through these in the order Netflix has them listed as. Automated Customer Service is the first episode I watched for Volume 2. This was a big red flag right off the bat because it's really bad. At first, the concept is, oh, your cleaning robot is trying to kill you. That's so funny. And then it just drags out for so long that that's the only thing it has to it. It's like if Chopping Mall wasn't fun, and instead of it being in a mall, it's in Jamie Lee Curtis's house. I don't know who chose these character designs, but they need to change career paths immediately.
Oh my god! What's wrong with your face?
It's like some unpaid intern on the animation staff looked at the dad character from Caroline and completely missed the point as to why he was modeled that way. By the way, I really like Caroline. Please don't murder my entire family. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please don't murder. All attempts at humor or fun fall completely flat and just make this really boring to watch. It spends its entire time doing the same thing over and over again, with Jamie Lee Curtis running around her house because this cleaning robot is trying to kill her. Oh no. Bad start, but it gets better, kinda. 3 out of 10. Ice, not to be confused with the previously mentioned and critically acclaimed film Norm of the North, is really hit or miss when it comes to the animation. It's either stunning or jaw-droppingly bad. These characters are ugly to look at. Whenever scenes just consist of these characters talking is where it's at its worst. The premise is that this group of people are going onto a chunk of ice to run away from a whale or something like that. I'm not really sure what the thought process was. I have no clue what's happening. Please, I don't know where I am. I don't care about any of these people. Hell, I don't even think they had names. I swear, some of these scenes look like they were shot with a fisheye lens, which I didn't even know was possible for animation. Why does it look like this? There's tons of bizarre decisions when it comes to how they decide to animate these scenes. When then again, you also get long distance shots like this that look very nice. I'd use that as a wallpaper, if I'm being completely honest. It's really good looking. And then it goes back to looking like this! The dialogue is awful, but this is amplified by the terrible line deliveries. I'm not sure if this is just because the actors don't know how to work with this script, or if they just couldn't act to begin with, but either way, it's awful. It's currently the lowest rated episode according to IMDb, but there's definitely worse episodes. Either way, 4 out of 10. It's kind of alright. Pop Squad is my favorite short from Love, Death, and Robots. The animation is beautiful, the writing is pretty good, the story had intrigue and questions of morality. It was like an actual film. Want to know something funny about this short? Its story isn't a baseline concept. I can't just write a single sentence to describe it because it's more complicated than that. This takes place in a universe where immortality is possible, but having children is against the law. The main focus point is that the cop main character, played by Nolan North, whose job it is to hunt down and kill these people having children, who in the short are called breeders. After the confrontation towards the beginning of the short, he ends up killing this family and starts to question if what he's actually doing is truly the right thing. All of what's in here is consistent with the tone. There's also no misplaced nudity or sex scenes and misplaced edginess. Who would have thought that it would have taken abandoning their shitty formula to make something great? Who said that? Oh, I said that? The visual style of that episode reminded me a lot of Blade Runner and also the game Observer. Not only is the visual style similar to Blade Runner, but Nolan North's character is basically just a Blade Runner, but instead of hunting replicants, he's hunting breeders. The atmosphere is almost post-apocalyptic, mixed with the cyberpunk aesthetic, sort of like Blade Runner. Wait a second. This is just great value Blade Runner! Nolan North gives a really good performance in this short. Nolan North is probably one of the most well-known voice actors in general, and this shows why. I also thought the model they used looked a lot like a young Liam Neeson, but it turns out it's just Nolan North's face. Oops! My main problem with the short is how they portrayed Nolan North's epiphany. For the majority of the short, you already know he's eventually going to realize that he's been in the wrong, but the way that they went about it felt over-explanatory. I also found the wife character to be really underdeveloped. She doesn't entirely add much. She's just there so that the short can show Nolan North being conflicted. There's multiple points in the short that question what it really means to be alive. These people have lived for hundreds of years, but yet they're unhappy. The final scene of Nolan North's character just accepting death is a really nice touch, and it's the only one of these shorts from the entire series that I found to be fairly intelligent with how it executes its themes. I originally had this as a 7 out of 10, but it's getting an 8 out of 10 because I feel generous today. I really like this one. Also watch Blade Runner 2049 because the first one kind of sucks shit, unless you watch the final cut, not to be confused with the director's cut, which is an already edited version of the original cut. But the director's cut is a worse version of the original cut, but the final cut fixes the problems that both the original cut and the director's cut had. Enhance. Alright. What's next? Ah, fuck. Snow in the desert. Now, here's the funny thing about that title. The entire thing is in a desert, right? But the character's name is Snow. So it's snow in the desert. Get it? If that doesn't speak volumes of the quality, I don't know what will. Funny thing about this one, I'm not really sure what the concept is. People just sort of wander around the desert, and there's a love interest that's really underdeveloped. I mean, the short is really nice to look at, but there's nothing else that makes it interesting. For some reason, this gave me weird Star Wars vibes. There's multiple scenes of a character looking at a setting sun, and I just started to hum the John Williams Star Wars theme. I was really distracted when the lady turned into Billy Lurk from Dishonored. I have jack shit to say about this one. It's so bland. There's this one part where Snow is talking about how his dead wife died over 100 years ago. He's like, Snow is so sad. So very, very sad. And then in response, this woman he was talking to just starts having sex with him. Alright, sure, fuck chemistry. These characters are bricks! 4 out of 10. This one sucks. I don't want to talk about it anymore. The Tall Grass probably has my favorite animation style out of all of the shorts from Volume 2. It's still really lacking when it comes to substance from a story perspective, unfortunately. It does this low frame rate thing to almost mimic stop motion, and it's really nice to look at. Also, yet again, a character looks like they're from Dishonored for some reason. The concept is this train is stopped in the middle of the giant field and there's monsters in the grass. The creatures are stupid and the execution of everything is laughable. The monster design is extremely bland. And then it's followed up with this rushed backstory from the conductor. He just walks on the screen and is like, oh, if sucking cocks is gay, I'm the biggest queer on earth. The line delivery is terrible. It feels like he's just reading directly from the script in the most monotone voice. I weirdly like this one though, even with all of the things I just said about it. 5 out of 10. All through the house is really one note. It's like someone had the idea of, hey, what if we made Santa into an evil monster, and then nothing else was thought up? I like that idea, and I could see it working on a horror comedy type movie. Krampus 2015 is a good example of a concept like this working by people who actually had an idea. That movie worked with different Christmas elements and added a horror twist to the traditions. In this short, the creature design itself is really bland. There's nothing interesting about it. It does the Pan's Labyrinth thing, which I thought was an odd touch. It's just a giant, uninspired monster. I kept thinking of ways you could incorporate a design to fit a Christmas theme, but this just goes for a big monster with a long tongue. The animation is nothing special, but I can't call it bad either. I don't know why they went with a generic sounding stock music, but it really feels out of place in a short like this. So Venom gave these kids presents because they were nice, and the short has the audacity to end on the line,
Billy, what would have happened if we weren't good?
implying that if they weren't nice, the monster would tear them to fucking shreds and kill them. Kill the child, kill the child, kill the child, kill the child. Why are you taking the fun away? I want to see that part! This one could have actually been fun, but its potential was wasted. 3 out of 10. Life Hutch is the worst episode from Volume 2. It stars Michael B. Jordan, and the concept is, oh, what if we made a realistic model of Michael B. Jordan, and made an animated short just around that? Wow, did you see the Michael B. Jordan model? It's so cool. Wow. Did you know that they remade Michael B. Jordan's entire body, but it's animated? Yeah, that's about as far as they got. Alright, sure, the model is pretty impressive to look at, but what function does it serve? I couldn't help but ask how this specific short benefited from being animated. If the main character is just modeled after a real actor playing them, without any style over it, why not just use the real actor? The majority of the short takes place in this dark room anyway. You could easily make a cheap set and it'll probably look more creative than any of this shit. I guess the robot scenes were meant to be tense, but I didn't realize what was happening until the robot died, so whatever. This dragged itself really thin. At one point, I wanted to just say, get on with it! Because nothing happens? Anyway, this one sucks. 2 out of 10. Still better than Beyond the Killer Rift, baby! The Drowned Giant is really strange, especially for this series. For one, it's directed by Tim Miller, who, for those of you that don't know, directed Deadpool and is also the creator of Love, Death, and Robots. He's also an executive producer on the show alongside David Fincher, who, to my knowledge, has little involvement with the show in general. Now, I'm not going to pretend that Tim Miller is some sort of great director. He's competent from what I've seen from him, but this short really didn't do anything for me. This wasn't an original story for Love, Death, and Robots, but was actually just an adaptation of the 1964 short story of the same name. So not only is Tim Miller younger than the story itself, but his goopy goo goo gaga brain doesn't understand it, which is why the adaptation feels so hollow. The animation is good, but it's nothing stunning. Hell, even some of the Volume 1 episodes look better than this. I don't hate this one, but it's still really weak. The concept is, what if a giant washed up on this beach? Unlike a lot of the other shorts, I get what its source material was going for. This has multiple layers more to it than just giant naked man on beach. While Tim Miller's adaptation is much more about the giant itself, the short story offers a perspective from how the people around the giant react to its existence. Not only does this adaptation barely scratch the surface with this idea, but its main themes are just blatantly explained through this lazy narration. The book carries subtlety, while this is just saying, dude, we live in a society, man. It's like if a surfer dude, bro, was given the opportunity to write about society and just ends up going like, life is like a sea of weights. We get tied down and can't lift up. Gravity is like the women, 'cause they be breaking my heart like bones. Okay, that's enough of that. 3 out of 10. So now that I've gone through all of Love, Death, and Robots, let me just say that Volume 2 was better than I expected it to be. I wouldn't call it good, but it's more than I was expecting from this show. I'm glad I was able to watch all of Volume 2 in under 2 hours, because if this shit was nearly 4 hours like Volume 1, I probably would have cut my limbs off. I really wish there were more shorts that attempted 2D animation, especially with Volume 2. The variety of styles is still here, but I'm pretty sure Ice is the only short to be animated in 2D from this entire volume, which sucks. At one point during both volumes, I started to become fatigued with 3D animation. Not that it's bad, but there's so many of these shorts that just use that style of animation and don't add anything to it. If there is going to be another volume of this show, I want better quality control and more 2D animated episodes. I definitely think 8 is better than 18, but it's not like the quality of the shorts themselves boosted because of it. There weren't any 1 out of 10s with Volume 2, which is the main plus I can give this. And please trash that fucking formula. Whenever it disregards that edgy formula, it's pretty good. And if every episode tried its own thing, this could be a great show. I'll probably never watch these specific shorts again, but I recommend at least checking out Pop Squad and Zima Blue if you decide to watch any of the shorts. Even though I've watched Zima Blue twice more in the past month, but shh. I really hope one day the show improves in quality. It has such potential to be great, but it's just wasted for the majority of it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this new style of video. I hope I can turn this into a long-running series, because I have a lot of things to talk about that Letterboxd won't let me express. Which, by the way, you should check out my Letterboxd. Did I mention I have a Letterboxd? I have a Letterboxd account. Have I ever mentioned that? I think you should check out my Letterboxd. I write reviews on there all the time. You should check out my Letterboxd. You should check out Letterboxd in the description. Letterboxd. I'd like to thank Parker or PREMOH who helped me make this video. I would have not finished this if it weren't for him. Not only did he give me moral support, but he basically did the large majority of the script, so go thank him. Go check out his stuff as well, because he has some pretty hella steampunk videos. He also edited the entirety of this video, so please go show him some support. The reason I didn't mention that prior to this part was because the audio for the rest of this conclusion area was recorded 3 months ago. This project has been in the works since Volume 2 launched. Hopefully that gives you a good time frame on how long this shit took, cause holy fuck. So please, for the months of torture I put him through, can you please at least show him a bit of support in return, okay? I know he has a bigger following than me, but I don't give a shit. I have the platform here. This is my arena. I am the captain now. But for now.
Well, that was fun. It's something I would say if I actually had fun making this through this 3-month miserable process of having to rewatch multiple episodes and have to view more than anyone's share of this fucking show. So just to make it very clear right now, I will not be doing a video on Season 3. If there even is one, which from the looks of it, there's going to be. So if it's ever greenlit, I just want to make it very clear. I will not be making a Season 3 video. Definitely will not do that.
But if they do, I hope it's better than Beyond the Aquila Rift, and it probably will be, because that episode fucking sucks hot doggy shit.
nice background here. It's definitely real. It's not just a green screen. It's so lifelike. Isn't that great? Aren't these like cool credits here? Isn't that neat? I just love that, right? It's just so cool. See you next year.